We love participles. Stage 22, page 26 is where I am looking. So they give us an example to just get us started. For comparison, they're going to give us a perfect passive participle. So in number 1, they give us Rex Romanis honoratus semper fidelis manebat. The king, having been honored by the Romans, always remained loyal. And the second example, puellae a patre vituperatai non responderant. The girls, having been blamed by their father, did not reply. So notice that honoratus and vituperatai are perfect passive participles, and those are the ones that we translate with having been blanked. Insert whatever the verb means there. So having been honored, having been blamed. And notice that this will usually be right next to a sort of a person responsible for doing the thing. So having been honored by the Romans, having been blamed by their father. So that is just a little recap, quick refresher on perfect passive participles. Now, continuing on page 26, we have perfect active participles. The example in number 2 says, Wilbia culinam ingressa sorori fibulum ostendit. Wilbia, having entered the kitchen, showed the brooch to her sister. So our perfect active participle, ingressa, means having entered. So instead of putting a been in there like we're used to with perfect passive, we're just going to say having blanked. So having entered. And then the next example, senex deam precatus abiet. Precatus, having prayed, is how we will translate that one. So again, no been whenever we have a perfect active participle. Important note, if a verb has a perfect active participle, it will not have a perfect passive participle. So in all honesty, perfect active participles are rare. There are only a few words that actually have them. So look out for these specific words directly from your textbook, page 26, stage 22. Locutus, adeptus, precatus, conspicatus. All of those are verbs that will have a perfect active participle. So when we translate those, you put having blanked. Another note is that usually because they are active, they can take on a direct object. So in the example mentioned above or mentioned before, we have Wilbia having entered the kitchen, showed the brooch to her sister. Ingressa can take an accusative direct object. Having entered, entered what? The kitchen, culinam. So keep in mind that a perfect active participle will usually have an object along with it to give us to complete the idea, like having caught sight of something. And then an object will tell us having caught sight of what? Or having entered, again, ingressa or ingressus, having entered what? Another example, adepti, having obtained. And then you'll need an object, having obtained what? Usually these phrases will be set off by commas in your book, so look out for them. They can have either first declension or second declension endings. That's all, only first or second. And whether it's first or second declension will depend on the gender of the word that it is modifying or referring to. Looking at the examples on page 26 still, number 3, example A, modestus tabernam ingressus wilbiam conspexit. So again, like other participles, if you just take out the whole phrase that contains the participle, you have a full sentence. 3A, modestus caught sight of Wilbia. That's a full sentence, that's a full idea. You don't need anything else. But because you are advanced in Latin, you can say even more about modestus. So we have modestus, having entered the inn, caught sight of Wilbia. So notice how adding in having entered the inn gives us more information about what Modestus is doing when he caught sight of Wilbia. So ingressus ends in us so that it can go along with modestus, so that they can both be masculine. So if we were modifying a word that was feminine, we might have ingressa. Or if we were modifying a word that was neuter, we might have ingressum. Or if we're modifying a word that's accusative, we might have ingressam. Or if we're modifying something that is nominative plural, we might have ingressai. So check your declension charts, make sure you're looking at those to figure out who the participle can possibly refer to. So another example, just to clarify that, 3b, we have wilbia multa verba locuta tandem tacuit. Wilbia, having spoken many words, finally was quiet. So locuta is our perfect active participle. That's one of the special words, so look out for it. And locuta ends in an A so that it can modify wilbia. Take a look at the examples on page 26, number 3, and test yourself on seeing whether you can tell which words are perfect active participles. And remember, when you see them in the wild, to translate them as having blanked. Don't put been in there. Do not put been in there. Just having blank.